He sat alone at the table when I first saw him. He was happy, just sitting there, semi-eating, picking at his food and reading. I thought that if I could learn anything from anyone at this school, it would be him and that. I hadn't approached or met anyone yet at this school, and of course it scared me. I got over myself and went to sit down to talk to him. I was nervous, but I wanted to seem like I wasn't. That's why I wore what I wore and acted like how I acted. But he didn't care about any of that. He was just surprised someone walked up to him. "Hello," I awkwardly stilted out. "Hi. You wouldn't mind if I sat here, would you?" I gestured towards the empty cafeteria seat across from him. "No, of course." I carefully sat down across from him, and we simultaneously went to break the ice. "I'm Evan." "I'm Ben." He had long hair, and so did I, though that would change for both of us. He put his book on pause and focused to me. "What are you reading?" I asked. He told me, but I didn't remember. I can sort out that it was an adventure novel, though, because I continued to talk about my passion for writing, despite being a weak reader. I shared all of my ideas and poured out my disjointed and disorganized mind for whatever reason. It just felt like the right thing to do, because he cared about what I had to say without caring who I was. Almost immediately, he showed that I mattered to him, and so I did so as well. Our conversations were brief and strange, but despite its irregular constitution, it felt as though it was a normal convention of good friends. And soon, humor and structure crept into the mix and made it so. I'd see him in and out of hallways, and eventually out of school. I had had so many friends that catered in between that to have him, someone who mirrored how I felt always, meant a world of difference. We always felt the same, and even when we couldn't, we would always know what to say, because the other would always understand. Always. I remember being in a call with him as he rambled on. "I don't know, man, I'm just nervous." "Then just ask her." He went quiet. "You guys have already admitted that you like each other. I mean, come on." "Yeah, but it's not that simple." "Ben, seriously?" After going back and forth with him about how or why it would work, he just refused to. "Evan, just let me ask her when I want to ask her, please." "Fine." But it wasn't fine. We continued to talk about it for nearly 2 hours before we were just too tired. It was the only thing that I didn't understand. I told him everything I understood about dating with a tinge of nervousness myself, because I had no clue what to really tell him. He eventually asked her, and she loved him back, and we understood each other after that. I tried time and time again to find someone as he had, and he saw as much, and made sure I felt my best despite it. We spent the night together once, eating, talking, and watching a commonly loved show. "Ben, are you asleep?" He turned over silently, but the ambient light in the room allowed me to confirm my suspicion. His eyes were open. "No, not yet." The show had recently touched on themes of making your parents and loved ones proud, and how it can be difficult for someone to express their satisfaction with someone else. It was painfully obvious that we were going to talk about it, and I guess he was waiting on me. "I'm glad I got to spend the weekend with you." "Me too. I've had a lot of friends over the years, and I haven't ever found anyone like you." "Yeah, me too." "I'm glad to hear that." "Me too." I was and still am envious of him, though I'd never act on it. I always dreamed of finding somebody, and though I wouldn't trade Ben for the world, we had naturally agreed to never be close in that way. It's not that he didn't care for me enough. If anything, he cared for me more than enough. He knew what he and I felt, and refused to ignore that for any reason. He's my brother. So I was and still am lonely. A bittersweet feeling that I may never be a dad, but rather an uncle.